There is a famous story in a classic book called Les Miserables. It's spelled Les Miserables if you want to do it phonetically, but it's Les Miserables, is what they call it. There is a character in that book called Jean Valjean. And Jean Valjean is a convicted convict that's finally released from prison, and he goes to look for some help. He ends up meeting this priest, and this priest gives him a place to stay and feeds him. Well, because he's been treated like a convicted convict for a lot of his life, he decides to act like a convicted convict, and he ends up stealing from this priest who was very kind to him and gave him a place to stay and gave him a place, something to eat. So he steals the priest's silver. Well, here's the problem. Later on, he gets caught by the police, and somewhere on the silver, it shows that it's the priest's silver, and the police march him back to this priest to try to get him, and hopefully, they probably want to put him back in jail. But when the priest comes to the door and sees this man who he's already helped, who's now stolen his silver, and he can see that he's stolen his silver, the priest could say, you know what, I can't believe this guy took my silver, take him away, take him to jail. But the priest doesn't. The priest does something really, really surprising. He walks back into his house and comes back with more silver and says, hey, you forgot these. And gives the convicted felon, or the convicted prisoner, I should say, more silver. Now, there's a principle somewhere in here. Remember, principles govern the consequences of our choices. There's a principle somewhere in here, and this is a really high principle. A lot of people want life to be exactly fair. They say life should be fair. And the truth is, all of us, no matter what culture, what continent, what religion, where we're from, we have this idea of what's fair. That's a good thing. But one of the things we can do, one of the things we can show our children is, how do I show grace? How do I show mercy to others who may not deserve fairness? But I'm going to let it be fairer for them than for me. Now, let's back up for a second. The truth is, this life is not fair. As much as we'd like it to be fair, it's not. We know it should be, and we know it's not. And to be able to keep our expectations in check because it's not fair is important. So, when our kids come and say life's not fair, one of the conversations we can have with them is let them know, you're right, it's not. And how can we try to be like the priest? Because we can demand fairness and say everything's got to be perfectly fair. The fair thing would be for that man to go to jail because he stole the priest's silver. But the merciful, graceful thing to do was to go back in and get more silver. And see, in our own families, people will do things where figuratively they steal from us. When I say that, I mean not literally, hopefully not literally. But they'll do something that kind of is not fair. They'll hurt our feelings. They'll do something that's not quite fair, or maybe really not fair. How can we model for our children the priest and not someone who's demanding fairness all the time, but can show grace to others? This principle, I believe, is the key to heaven. No assignment today. I just want you to think about it. And you may decide to read the book if you have a little extra time, maybe you don't. How do I show grace? How do I be merciful to others? How do I forgive? Think about it. Good luck. Do the work.